Antonio, Vegas, Phoenix, San Francisco, San Diego, and it wraps up on the 30th of October at the Shrine Auditorium in Los Angeles. Give it up for the Colleges.
Am I live? I guess I am. The clock's running. Good morning, folks. How the hell is everybody today? Sorry, I don't have any. I don't have any light. Pretty face the first thing in the morning. I didn't do a video yesterday afternoon. Yeah, reconnecting. I know. I don't do it a whole lot. I don't take days off a whole lot, but I do every now and then. Good morning, viewer. How are you today? I don't know who you are, but you can type something good morning and get your morning shout out if you like. Anyway. Oh, terrible Tuesday. I only say terrible Tuesday because that means I got 3 more days to go after today, but 4 days total. I like the short work weeks, but I don't want to do this all the time, you know. Dark out this morning. Anybody catch the what was that? The red moon on, what was that? Sunday night? Saturday night? Saturday morning? Early? I don't know. Anyway, I didn't. I'm not getting up in the middle of the night to see no moon. Plus, I was snoozing. I went to Branson, Missouri this past weekend. That was a pretty good trip. Saw some things I've never seen before. And good morning, viewer. How are we today? A little early, ain't it? I know I don't have any light. Sorry. Yeah. See, my viewers are going to come and go this morning because they can't see me. So they won't know I'm even on unless I talk to them. Hello, viewer. How we doing this morning? On my way to work on this terrible Tuesday. Yeah, I only call it terrible Tuesday because, you know, after today, I got 3 more days to go for the weekend. So I was just talking about my trip down to Branson this past weekend anyway. What an experience. So we stayed at the Howard Johnson's hotel, and it's an older hotel. It was rather nice though. I mean, it was clean, and the rooms were nice. The room I had a balcony, or like a deck on the back side of it, and it was all the way at the back of the buildings. So we were at the opposite end from the office and stuff, all the way in the back beside the pool. And we stayed there Saturday night because we weren't going to go to the Dogwood Canyon, which I'll get to in a minute. The Dogwood Canyon we went to on Sunday afternoon. And that place is really cool. I had never been there before. I've lived in Missouri now for 15 years, and I've never been to Dogwood Canyon. So we decided to take a trip to Dogwood Canyon. But anyway, so let me finish my story first. So Saturday afternoon, we found Slotsky's. That's one of my favorite sandwich places to eat in the world. They use sourdough bread, and it's fresh baked every day, or at least it used to be. When I worked there, it was. And we rode around a little bit, you know, just kind of trying to waste time. Then we went and checked in our hotel room, and went out and did a little sightseeing and stuff like that. You know, it's pretty cool. And took some photos. I found the Dixie Outfitters down there. Dixie Outfitters is a store that carries a lot of Civil War, historic, Confederate stuff like that, apparel, gifts, accessories, and stuff like that. They got the General Lee parked out front, and we went there, and well, we went to where it used to be. I mean, it's still there, but not in the same place. We went to the Jesus store, and of course, everything they had there was centered around Christianity and Jesus. Really nice little shop. So I was talking to the girl and had told her that, you know, that's where the Confederate shop used to be, the Dixie Outfitters, and she was trying to help me find it. She says, well, I know I've seen it, you know, like on her commute to work, and, you know, on her way home in the afternoons or whatever. So she said, well, I think it's down that way. Well, I went ahead and looked it up on Google Maps, and when I did find it finally. It was about 1.5 miles away from where they used to be, kind of further only out, you know, like the south side, or I guess it's the south side of Branson. Went in, and the shop has gotten a lot smaller. They don't carry as much stuff as they used to, but they do carry a lot of like Civil War stuff, Confederate money, pins, clothing, hats, you know, stuff like that. So it's a pretty cool little place. And of course, you know, got the picture taken with the General Lee. That car, it's in bad shape. It's been sitting there quite a while. You know, like the decals and stuff are starting to come off of it. I guess the guy's probably going to fix it up again. The lady was talking about it anyway. You know, how long he's had it and stuff like that. So that was pretty interesting. But then we left there, and we decided not to go get something to eat because, you know, we'd already eaten late in the day at the Schlotsky's, and I was still pretty full. So we decided just to go back to the hotel and chill out. And ended up going to bed around, I don't know, 10:30 or so, watching TV, fell asleep. And so, like, I don't know, I guess it was probably like 3:55 in the morning. I don't know if I was dreaming or what the hell was going on, but I woke up and I opened my eyes, and there was this little girl standing beside my bed. And it really kind of freaked me out. I couldn't figure out, you know, like how the hell this little girl got in my room, first of all. And I grabbed her by the arm, and I was trying to wake Dee up, and I don't know, I couldn't get the words out of my mouth. I couldn't say Dee's name for some reason. It's almost like I was in a state of shock. So this little girl was probably around 7 or 8 years old. She had long stringy hair, a white nightgown. It was kind of like poofy around the shoulders, like one of those like really old-timey nightgowns, you know, you saw back like in the probably the 50s and 60s or something like that. Long sleeves, and she kept pulling away, and I couldn't get Dee. And then I don't know what happened, but Dee ended up waking me up, and she said that I was like I was moaning in my sleep or something, almost like I was in pain, but I wasn't in any pain. And I guess I was dreaming. I thought it was real because it seemed like it was, you know what I mean? Man, what a wild experience that was. So, like, this is like 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:55, something like that. And it seemed like it lasted a lot longer than it did. So, but I didn't see the little girl for the rest of the night. And I don't know, you know, they say sometimes that spirits visit like the places they died or the places they like to go to. And the room that we were in was right next to the pool, which was kind of ironic. I don't know if maybe like this little girl drowned or something in the pool or what was going on, but it was a spirit of some kind. It had to have been, or I was just subconsciously imagining this in my sleep. I mean, I really don't know. It was so realistic. It really kind of freaked me out and scared me, to be honest with you. So we decided to go, like we woke up, I guess, again around 8, something like that. And we decided to go to breakfast. And I went over to the counter at the hotel, and I was like, and I had to ask Dee the room number because I couldn't remember the room number, but I was like, hey Dee, what's the room number? And she told me, and I asked the people at the counter, I said, has anybody, ever said anything, like a little girl showing up in the middle of the night in that room? And they both looked at me, like, wow, that's really crazy. I guess they thought I was on drugs or something. I don't know. They were like they were as freaked out as I was, And I kind of explained to them, what the little girl looked like, about how old she was, about how tall she was. She might have been like 3'5" or something like that. It was definitely I'm still a little freaked out about it. It's not very often you see things or have dreams like that or whatever. But anyway, so the hotel, they didn't really have like a breakfast. I guess they had I don't know, it was like flour water or something for gravy and biscuits, and it was horrible. So Dee and I decided to go get breakfast. So we went back to the hotel room, packed up our shit, and went to Bob Evans restaurant. And Bob Evans was really nice. They got that country feel. And when I walked in, it kind of resembled like, the Cracker Barrel, with all the gifts and things, and t-shirts and stuff like that out in front. And they were starting to put out their Christmas stuff. And I was like, man, they moved in on an opportunity apparently, with all this shit going on with Cracker Barrel and, the sign and changing the inside of the restaurant and stuff. So I guess Bob Evans restaurant's going to capitalize on that. And they're going to start doing kind of the same thing, but they had t-shirts and gifts and novelties and knickknacks and candies and, I mean, like almost everything you would see at the Cracker Barrel, in the gift shop, but not to the same extent, like not as big, you know what I mean? But so we stayed there for a little while, and then we decided we wanted to go to a flea market. So we stopped on the way out and asked this lady, hey, where's a flea market around here? Because I like to go to flea markets, in like other places. When we go to visit some places, I like to look for albums, records, vinyl. If any of you guys know what those are, I don't know who's watching or how old you are, but you have records. You play on a record player on the stereo. So I've got quite a collection of vinyl. I call it vinyl. Other people call it dead wax. Other people call them records, albums, whatever. Okay, so anyway, so we found this place called Applewood Antique Mall, and it looked like it used to be like an old grocery store or something. They had the aisles set up, and you go through and you look, and they had booths, and like for each booth you had in there, they had like people's name or number on all the merchandise and tags in that particular place, and so it was pretty cool. We managed to waste about 2 hours in that place, just kind of walking through, looking around. And I did manage to find some records, but I didn't buy anything because apparently those people like those records more than I do. And they were asking quite a bit. like he had some Pink Floyd in there, and had some Motley Crue. I mean, some good. I had a bunch of Pink Floyd. I don't know, Led Zeppelin, stuff like that. And the only reason I went to that particular booth is because I saw the Pink Floyd album, Dark Side of the Moon. Well, if you're gonna get over, stupid, get over. Jesus Christ. These fucking big trucks, I swear. These guys don't know how to fucking drive sometimes. I was flashing him to go ahead of me, but he wasn't doing it anyway. So this Applewood place is really cool, and I ended up picking up a couple of phone cases, like one for my phone, and I've got this MP3 player that is about the same size as one of the first touchscreen phones or smartphones I had. So I ended up getting it. I'm kind of frugal when I go on trips. So anyway, we leave there. So we still had, another hour and a half or so to waste, but we thought, well, we'll just go on out to Dogwood Canyon. Dogwood Canyon was about a 25-30 minute ride or something like that from where we were at. So we went on out there, and we went on like these all mountain roads and stuff that went around. I guess what is that? Table Rock Lake or something like that. And there was like these great big houses on the cliff, or on what they call the bluffs. I call them cliffs, other people call them bluffs, but they had these great big houses up there. And I'm guessing a lot of the entertainers and stuff that work within the Branson and the shows and stuff, they must live there. Oh, and I need to go back for a minute too, because we went to a place like when we were killing time Saturday. We went to a place. It was called The Landing, and it's right on a lake. It almost looks like a river, but it is a lake. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name, but they had all these shops and shit, and like these expensive stores. And down at one end, they had this fountain, and this fountain was probably, it had multiple fountains within like a certain space. So these these fountains, they shot water up in the air, and they had music playing, and it was synchronized with the beat of the music. So they played a Joe Walsh song. What was it? Rocky Mountain Way or something like that. And they had like fire shooting out of these pedestals, and like the water changed colors. Of course, now the water didn't actually change colors, it was just lighting, and it was kind of weird because they do this every hour on the hour, but it's a different song, and they only play one song each time they play them. So that was a pretty neat experience. There's actually, if you guys go on my my short videos, I did shoot some video of the fountain a couple of times. I tried to do a live video, but for some reason in that area my phone wasn't working too well and it kept cutting out, so I went ahead and ended the video. But you can look on my short videos and see the fountains. The fountains are really cool. Okay, so going back to Sunday, after breakfast and everything, so we decided to go on out to Dogwood Canyon, and we pull up, and there's like this huge barn out there, and they've got like this little guard gate at the end of the sidewalk, and that's where you get your tickets and stuff. Well, they have hiking, then you can walk like through the park. They have horseback riding, they have bicycles, and then they have like these, what they call the trams. The trams are like more really just trailers, that are made for like bench seating. They're trailers that they pull with pickup trucks through this park. And, everybody had told me, hey man, if you're going to go out there, take the tram. And Dee and I weren't going to, but I decided like at the very last minute to go ahead and take this tram, because if we didn't take the tram, we wouldn't see everything that the park has to offer. And I wanted to make sure that I saw some waterfalls because I really dig waterfalls. Like I lived in the mountains of North Carolina when I was a kid, and we used to go on like day trips and stuff, and we would go see like Linville Falls, Crabtree Falls, Soco Falls, and stuff like that. On day trips. So I really had heard about all these waterfalls out there, so I wanted to see some of them. And so we went ahead and paid for the tram. And of course we went in, and then when you walk in the building, you go up these stairs, and there's like this hallway, and they've got like artifacts from like the Civil War, Indians and stuff like that in these glass cases as you walk by, and it has explanations of what they are and where they were and things like that, where they found them, and some of them were from like personal collections, I guess people donated. And then at the other end of that, you had like a restaurant kind of in the middle. But the walkway that you go over, there's like a river that runs under it. So as you walk up to go into the building, off to the right, underneath of the walkway, there's a waterfall. It's like the first thing you see when you get ready to go in. And then I saw some people standing out on a platform as we were walking across, and I was like, man, what are they looking at? So I look up, and there's like this 150-foot waterfall or something like it. It was freaking huge, and it was called Indian Cliff Falls, and it's like right at the backside of the entrance when you go in this place. And you'll see, if you look in my videos, I shot a bunch of short videos of some of the waterfalls that I saw. So you'll see a video of that one. Magnificent. There's nothing more soothing to me, except for maybe the sound of the ocean, than a waterfall. Especially a big one that makes a lot of noise. And this one definitely did make a lot of noise. It was huge. And then... So anyway, we stopped there, we took pictures and stuff like that, like people normally do when they go places that are pretty like that. Then we went to the gift shop, and they had all kinds they were a little pricey though. The guy that owns Bass Pro Shop in Cabela's, he's the one that owns this park. And it was just a small piece of land at first, but it's like 10,000 acres now or something like that this guy he's developed over the years. And he's got trails out there, and they built all these bridges to go back and forth through the park over like these little bluffs, waterfall bluff things. And like I said, I've got a bunch of those videos on my YouTube page, or my YouTube channel, in my short videos. I did one long video that was like a little waterfall that we were going by. I did it in slow motion. The slow motion, that's like 8 minutes long, but in actuality it's only about 2.5 minutes or something like that. So you guys make sure you go check those out. But the place is called Dogwood Canyon. So we're going through, and there's like all these different waterfalls. They've got a chapel out there, and the chapel's really cool. It's like a log chapel that they had like some Amish people come in and build a lot of these buildings and stuff. And everything that they used to build those buildings was all done by hand. It was nothing electric, nothing gas powered. These Amish people hauled this shit in on horse and buggy, or at least this is what we were told anyway. And all the holes that were drilled, like for the great big bridge that went across, were hand drilled. They used bolts and stuff like that. It's just a phenomenal, the ability that these Amish people have to be as primitive as they are. The Amish, I tell you, I don't think after living a life I've lived, I don't think I could be Amish, to be honest with you. I mean, if I grew up that way, yeah, maybe, but there's no way, with being able to live the life that I've lived, with electricity and power tools and, and stuff like that, that I could live, as an Amish person. But anyway, there was a lot of like cobblestone bridges out there that they built, I guess. And they decided after a while, because the water, I guess, rushes through there so fast and it erodes those bridges, that they decided to start using like concrete, and like pads or something. But then we went through the park. There was like 7 or 8 great big waterfalls, and they were just magnificent. There's one at the chapel I was just talking about. There's one out behind the chapel, and they've got like a balcony on the back side of the chapel that you can sit, in a rocking chair, and you can look across the water, across the river, and see the waterfalls there. They had a place where there were like 2 waterfalls coming into one. That was pretty cool. They had some caves. There were a bunch of caves along the way too, and they were talking about how they had explored a lot of these caves, and they had actually found, they were like Indian burial grounds. The area that they were in, what do they call them, the Shoshone Indians or something like that. I think that's what they were, Shoshones or Shoshonas. Um, they were there. There was like 2 different tribes that were pretty close to each other right in that area. So some of the Indian artifacts and like the bones from the Indians, they said there were 2 that were little kids, and one was an adult, and it was in one cave. They know for sure, and they had to get a hold of the tribes that these people belong to figure out which tribe these Indian human remains belong to, and they dated back like, I don't know, like back in the 16 or 1500s or something like that. They were really really old. And I don't really know how you tell how old people are. I guess see, what do they call them, artifacts. I don't know how to tell how old those things are, but they apparently got a hold of some, people and did some testing and stuff like that, and these bones were pretty old. And there were a couple of caves that they actually found human remains in, and they were from the Indian tribes way back when. There was one cave that they said actually had like a natural chimney in it, so these Indians were able to build fires inside, these caves, and stay warm, like during the wintertime, stuff like that. So and that's, they found a lot of pottery and weaponry that, Indians would use inside these caves, apparently. Oh, excuse me. Oh, working class. That's what happens when you get up at 4:45 in the morning. But anyway, so then we went up, on through the park, and there were some places like they had a little pavilion that was built and a little snack bar out there. And there was people like picnicking and riding bikes all through this park. It was like one of the, I mean, if you really want to get out in nature and just kind of see things around you, it's a really nice place to go. So then at one point, we crossed over the Missouri state line and went into Arkansas, because part of the property of this 10,000 acres or whatever goes into Arkansas. And they've got these pastures out there that have American bison, not buffalo. Buffalo are different than the bison. They're kind of the same animal. They look the same in a lot of ways, but their habits and their let's see, their mating and their herding is a lot different than like the buffaloes. And he was telling us about all that. But they had like these really big elk out there, these big bull elk with these great big fucking horns. It was unbelievable how huge these things were. And then they had some Texas steer, cows or bulls out there as well. But just, you know, if we hadn't taken the tram, we wouldn't have been able to see that part. So it's like 2.5 hours or something like that, from the time you leave where the place, you know, the Dogwood Canyon, like the front offices or whatever, and the store and the restaurant, and then you drive out and then you drive back, and there's all these trams going. They do it like every half hour, you know, to space them out so that these trams don't cross paths, even though they do. And they have these radios and stuff. They talk to each other. It's really neat. I highly recommend if any of you are in Missouri and like around the Branson area and decide you want to go see something really cool, go to this place, Dogwood Canyon. All right, folks. Well, it's 5 minutes till I got to go. I hope you enjoyed my ride in this morning. If any of you haven't subscribed yet, if you feel like subscribing, you want to hear more of my stories about my adventures and things like that, please feel free to hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, please hit like. I'd appreciate it. I don't get paid for this. I do it just out of because I like to, and it gives me something to do, like when I'm riding around. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard me say that before, if you've in fact watched me before. But it's a terrible Tuesday. You guys have a good day. Take it easy. God bless you, and we'll talk to you again soon. I'll do a video tomorrow afternoon around 2:30 Central Time. So if you have a chance to get back on and you want to see some more of my senseless ramblings, feel free to join me. All right, we'll talk to you later. You guys have a great day.